The abandoned armor. The war had been going on for years. Planets were burning, ships were falling from the sky, and soldiers were tired. But the fight didn't stop. Humans were strong, and they never gave up. Sergeant Rylan moved slowly through the ruined battlefield. Smoke rose from the ground. Broken machines and lifeless bodies were all around him. His boots crunched on the metal pieces scattered across the rocky ground. He wasn't supposed to be here. His squad had already left the area. But something had pulled him back, a feeling deep inside that he had to check one more time. Then he saw it. A piece of battle armor. Damaged, half buried under dust and rubble. At first it looked like any other abandoned suit. But Rylan stopped. His eyes narrowed. There was something strange about this armor. He walked closer. It was old design, not used in the last 2 years. The surface was scratched, burned, and half melted, but the symbol on the shoulder was still there. A small silver phoenix. Rylan froze. Only one person he knew had that symbol on their armor. Elia. He dropped to his knees and reached out with shaking hands. His fingers touched the armor, wiping away the dust. It couldn't be. She had gone missing 2 years ago during a secret mission. Everyone said she was dead. He had cried for weeks, but then nothing. No body. No answers. Just silence. He pulled open the chest plate. Inside, something was scratched into the metal. For Rylan. Always. His heart stopped. Only Elia would write that. It was real. This was her armor. But how did it get here? Suddenly the armor made a soft sound. Click. Buzz. Whir. He jumped back. A small panel on the side blinked. Then a weak voice came from the armor's speaker, a broken, glitchy voice. Right, Rylan. If you find this, don't trust. Command. They lied. The voice faded. Rylan stared at the armor, his hands cold. That was her voice. She was alive when this message was recorded, and she was warning him. But why? He looked around. No one was near. His radio was silent. Carefully, he closed the armor and lifted it over his shoulder. It was heavy, but he didn't care. He had to know the truth. Back at his bunk, Rylan locked the door. He laid the armor on the table and examined it closely. Strange marks were on the inside, wires and tech he didn't recognize. It didn't look like any human technology. What did they do to you? He whispered. He found a small slot, hidden behind the shoulder plate. Inside was a chip, black, smooth, and glowing faintly blue. He inserted it into his data pad. A video started playing. Elia appeared on the screen. Her face was tired, dirty, but her eyes were still the same. Kind and strong. If you're watching this, she said, then I didn't make it out. But listen to me. This armor isn't normal. It's not just a suit. It's a cage. They used alien tech on me, Rylan. They said it would make me better, faster, stronger. But it changed me. The screen flickered. I escaped. I tried to come back, but they hunted me. I left this message where you might find it. If you love me, don't let them hide what they did. Find the truth. The video ended. Rylan sat in silence for a long time. His hands were shaking. Elia was alive. Or she had been. And now he knew why she disappeared. It wasn't an accident. It was a secret, a mission she was never supposed to return from. And now he was part of it too. He looked at the armor one more time. It wasn't just armor. It was the key to everything. And someone out there didn't want him to know the truth. A soft knock came at the door. Rylan didn't move. Another knock, then a voice. Cold. Official. Sergeant Rylan opened the door. Now. He grabbed the armor chip and slid it into his pocket. His eyes narrowed. They were already coming for him. The message inside Rylan didn't open the door. He stood frozen, staring at the metal handle as the knocking grew louder, harder. His mind raced. They were here in a probably military internal command, not normal soldiers. These people didn't knock twice. They kicked down doors. He grabbed the data chip from the table, slipped it into the inside lining of his boot, and covered the armor with a dusty blanket. Then he walked slowly to the door, trying to stay calm. Another knock. He opened it halfway. A tall officer in black uniform stood there, 2 armed soldiers behind him. The officer didn't smile. "Sergeant Rylan, you've been reassigned," the man said flatly. "Come with us." "Now?" Rylan asked, keeping his voice steady. "I just returned from patrol." "Now," the officer repeated. Rylan nodded slowly, trying not to show his fear. He followed them through the narrow hallways of the outpost. The walls were made of dull gray metal, flickering lights above. Everything felt cold. They weren't taking him to command's office. They were taking him underground. After a long elevator ride, they reached a locked room. No windows, just walls of steel and silence. Inside was a single table, a chair, and a small box with a blinking red light. "Sit," the officer said. Rylan obeyed. The officer leaned forward. "Did you find anything unusual during your last patrol?" Rylan kept his expression blank. "No, just scrap metal, old tech, nothing useful." The officer stared at him for a long time, then nodded. "We'll see." He pressed a button. A hologram appeared above the box. It was a photo. The armor, the exact same one Rylan had found. Except, in this image, the armor was still lying on the battlefield, unmoved, time-stamped 2 hours ago. Rylan's heart sank. They had drones watching the field. "You're not authorized to recover classified prototypes," the officer said. "Where is it?" Rylan looked straight at him. "I don't know what you're talking about." The officer smiled. But it was cold. "You think she was the only one they experimented on?" he whispered. Then he stood up and left the room. Rylan sat in silence. But now his thoughts were burning. They knew about Aaliyah. They knew he found the armor, and they said she wasn't the only one. How many others were there? After an hour, the guards returned. "You're free to go," one of them said. Rylan didn't ask questions. He just walked, calmly, quietly, back to his room. Once the door closed behind him, he locked it again. This time, he pulled out the chip and connected it to his private scanner, an old device not linked to military networks. He opened the data again. But this time, there was more. Not just a message. There were encrypted files, logs, maps, audio, video, hundreds of small files all hidden beneath the surface. Aaliyah had left it all for him. He clicked one of the audio logs. Subject 12. Aaliyah Vorn. Memory instability increasing. Prototype armor now part of neural system. Subject reports. Pain confusion, but shows high combat ability. Command orders continued testing. Another file played. She escaped containment. Repeat. Subject 12 has escaped. Kill orders in place if retrieval fails. Do not inform public or lower ranks. Rylan sat back, eyes wide. She didn't die in a mission. She escaped their lab, and they hunted her. The armor wasn't armor at all. It was part of her now. He opened the video log marked Last Contact. The screen showed Aaliyah in full armor surrounded by smoke. Her breathing was fast. She turned toward the camera. "They used me, Rylan. I begged them to stop. I'm not the only one. There are more. They call us ghost units. But we're real. We bleed. We remember. And now, I don't know how long I have. If you see this, don't just find me." Her eyes filled with tears. "Burn the whole thing down." The screen went dark. Rylan stood up, shaking. This was bigger than just one lost lover. It was bigger than the military. They were building human weapons, experimenting on their own people, and covering it up. He looked at the armor. He knew what he had to do. Find her, expose the truth, and stop the people who turned soldiers into machines. But first he had to disappear because now he was a target too. The forbidden logs. The desert wind howled across the abandoned mining sector on Luna 4. Dust rose in slow waves across the rocky wasteland, covering everything in silence. In a hidden underground garage, Rylan worked quickly. He had left the military base 2 nights ago, erasing his traces using old rebel codes Elia had once shown him. No one knew he was here. He wore civilian clothes now. No uniform, no ID. Just shadows. The armor lay across the workbench, wires exposed, plates open. The core. Inside still pulsed faint blue light. Elia's armor was alive, not just a machine. It had memory. It had something else too. Something alien. Rylan's hands moved carefully as he connected the chip to a stolen data terminal. A full download began. Thousands of encrypted files filled the screen. He didn't understand most of the symbols. Some of it wasn't in any human language. But buried inside, he found something he could read. Project Forgotten. Human neural integration with Xenotech. He opened the file. Command authorization Zeta Black. Subject 12 was the first to survive full integration. Memory stability 61%. Combat adaptation 94%. Mental drift detected. Subject shows signs of emotion loss and identity fracture. Recovered. Armor functions as brain lock. Subject must not be allowed outside containment. Rylan stared at the words. Brain lock. They had trapped her in her own body. The armor wasn't just a weapon. It was a prison controlling her thoughts, keeping her from escaping fully. But she had broken free. He opened another file. This one was labeled Subject 07 Terminated. The video showed another soldier, a man, screaming as his body merged with strange wires and glowing tech, then static, then silence. Jesus, Rylan whispered. A message popped up on the terminal. You should not be here. His breath caught. He hadn't typed anything. Another message appeared. They know you downloaded the files. He yanked the cable and turned off the terminal. The lights flickered. Then came footsteps. Rylan grabbed the chip and stuffed it into a hidden pouch. He turned toward the exit. Too late. The wall exploded inward. 2 soldiers in black exosuits entered. Not regular troops. These were silence units. Off-the-record assassins used only in top-level military cleanups. They didn't speak. They opened fire. Rylan dove behind a storage crate as plasma shots burned through the air. He pulled a pulse pistol from his belt, not military issue, and fired back. One suit collapsed with sparks. The other moved in closer. He kicked a fuel canister toward it and shot it mid-roll. The fireball threw the second soldier back, armor cracking against the wall. Smoke filled the room. Rylan didn't wait. He grabbed the armor, what tools he could carry, and vanished down the old maintenance tunnels beneath the garage. Dark, cold, quiet, only the sound of his breathing. He walked for what felt like hours. At last, a small blinking light appeared ahead. Red and low to the ground, he tapped it. A voice spoke from the shadows. Sergeant Rylan, you brought company. He spun, pistol raised, but a tall woman stepped forward from the dark, lean, armed, eyes sharp. I'm Doc Vera, she said. Elia sent us her last signal weeks ago. We've been watching, waiting. He lowered his weapon. You're with the rebels? She smiled. We're with the truth. Call us whatever you want. They entered a hidden base built into the rocks. Old tech buzzed. People in civilian clothes moved between screens, scanners, and maps of secret military locations. Doc Vera led him to a table and placed the armor on it. She touched it gently. We built this, well, part of it. The alien tech came later. You knew about this? Rylan asked. She nodded. Elia volunteered for a prototype mission. It wasn't supposed to be permanent. But Command lied. They wanted weapons, not heroes. Rylan pulled out the chip. She's not dead, he said. I've seen her, heard her voice. She's still out there. Doc Vera's face turned, serious. She's more than out there. She's sending signals from beyond the dead zone, a place where no human ship returns. She's calling me, Rylan whispered. Doc Vera looked him in the eye. Then we'll take you to her. Escape and the underground. The stars above the rebel outpost were cold and silent. Hidden deep inside an asteroid belt between Mars and the outer moons, the base had no name. No official coordinates, no entry in any military log. It was built by deserters, survivors, and those who refused to follow cruel orders. Rylan stood on a viewing deck staring out at the void. His mind was a storm. Ilia was out there. Alive. Maybe. Changed. Definitely. He remembered her laugh, the way her eyes lit up during briefings, how she would always punch his arm after a joke, just hard enough to sting. That Ilia was gone now. The new Ilia, part human, part machine, something caught between hope and horror, had reached out to him from a place no one came back from. The dead zone. Doc Vera appeared beside him, holding 2 cups of hot synth brew. No one goes to the dead zone, you know, she said quietly. The last ship we sent disappeared. Rylan didn't answer. We traced Ilia's last signal to Sector 9A. A station there. Old, alien-built, we think, blacklisted by command. She's calling me, he said almost to himself. I can feel it. Doc Vera handed him a data chip. These are coordinates, a one-way trip. If you go, there's no coming back unless she brings you back. He looked at her. Then I better make her remember who she is. An hour later, inside the underground launch bay, rebel engineers loaded supplies into a dark-colored stealth cruiser. Small, fast, and completely off-grid. Its name was carved into the side in worn-out silver letters. The Wraith. Perfect name, Rylan muttered. As he entered the ship, Doc Vera stopped him. One more thing, she said, handing him a small device. This is her neural key. It's connected to the armor. If her mind is slipping too far, this might bring her back, but if she's gone... She paused. Then you'll have to stop her. Rylan clenched the key in his hand. She's not gone. Not yet. The Wraith launched silently into the black. Hours passed. The ship moved through quiet space like a ghost, staying below radar. But as it neared the edge of the system, alarms began to blink. Unmarked ships appeared on the scanner. 4 of them. Military design but with no flags. Silent hunters. They followed me, Rylan whispered. The ships opened fire. He took the controls and dove the Wraith into a debris field, using rocks and shattered satellites for cover. Explosions shook the ship. Warning lights flashed red. Come on, he muttered, twisting the controls. The Wraith shot past a broken mining ring and vanished into a gravity rift. A hidden passage leading straight into the edge of the dead zone. The enemy ships didn't follow, they knew better. But Rylan didn't care. Everything changed. As the ship crossed into the dead zone, the stars disappeared. No light, no sound, just endless black. His instruments went dead. No readings, no comms. Even the ship's lights dimmed to a flicker. It felt like falling through silence. Then, out of nowhere, a structure appeared, floating. Massive, alien, like a cathedral made of metal and bone. It wasn't built by humans. The ship drifted closer on its own, pulled by some unknown force. Rylan's fingers hovered over the control panel, but he wasn't flying anymore. The ship landed in a wide hangar, open to space but somehow sealed. He grabbed his gear, clipped the neural key to his belt, and stepped out. It was cold. Not just temperature, but cold like something was watching. He moved carefully through the dark halls. Strange carvings lined the walls. Symbols he couldn't read. Lights that pulsed like veins. Then, a sound. Footsteps. Soft, mechanical. He turned a corner and stopped. She was standing there, Alia, or something that used to be her. The armor covered her fully now, sleek and dark, with glowing lines running through it. Her eyes, once warm and human, now glowed faint blue. "Elia," he whispered. She tilted her head. "Rylan." Her voice was still hers, but deeper, hollow, like she was speaking through a machine. "You found me," she said. "I never stopped looking," he said, stepping closer. She flinched. "You shouldn't have come." "I saw what they did to you," he said. "I know the truth. I saw your message." "They want to use me," she said. "I can hear their voices every time I close my eyes. I'm not just me anymore. There are pieces of others inside." "Fight it," he said. "You're stronger than them." "I don't know who I am anymore," she whispered. "And soon I won't remember you either." He pulled out the neural key. "This will bring you back," he said. "Please, come back to me." She stepped back. "I can't. If I do, I might lose what little power I have left. And then I can't stop them." "Who?" Rylan asked. Her eyes flickered. "There are more, like me. And they're waking up." Suddenly, alarms blared across the station. Alien lights lit up the walls. Elia turned toward him, voice full of fear. "You have to leave, Rylan. I'm not leaving without you." Then, behind her, massive figures stepped from the dark. Others, in armor, like Elia, but twisted, monstrous, lost to madness, and they were coming. The signal from the dark zone: they were not human. They looked like soldiers, but they moved like machines. Behind Elia, the armored figures emerged from the shadows one by one, towering, deformed, humming with unnatural energy. Their helmets were fused to their skulls. Their limbs clicked and jerked like broken machines trying to mimic life. They were the others, the ghost unit, and they had lost whatever piece of themselves that was once human. "Don't move," Elia said sharply, standing between Rylan and the creatures. Her voice was steady, but her hand trembled. "They can smell memory, emotion. If you're scared, they'll know." Rylan clenched his fists. He took a breath, steadying himself. "What do they want?" "They don't want," she said. "They obey. Whatever commands are still locked in their minds, they follow, even now, even after death." The creatures moved slowly around them, silent and twitching. But they didn't attack. Elia led, Rylan deeper into the station through twisting tunnels carved from strange dark metal. The air felt alive, like it was watching him breathe. "This place, what is it?" he asked. "A memory vault," she replied. "Not built by us. The aliens, who left this place behind. They didn't die. They evolved, left their minds in the walls." "You mean the walls are alive?" "Not alive," Elia said, "but not dead either." As they entered a chamber with a high ceiling and a glowing blue core in the center, Rylan felt pressure in his skull. A ringing sound vibrated deep in his bones. "What is that?" he groaned, grabbing his head. Elia touched the edge of the core. "It's the signal. This is where I first heard it. Where I changed." She turned to him. "I came here during a Black Ops mission. Command told me it was a recon test. But it wasn't. They knew what this place was. They wanted to see what would happen if a human mind touched the signal." "You were a test," Rylan said softly. She nodded. "And when I survived, they wanted more." She raised her hands. The armor pulsed and shifted around her skin like it was breathing. "I didn't just wear the armor, Rylan. I became it. I still hear the station in my dreams. It's not a voice. It's more like memory trying to become real." He looked at her, the woman he loved, the woman now caught between human and something else. "But you're still you," he said. "You're still fighting it." She looked down. Not for long. Then, the lights around the chamber shifted. The core in the center flared brighter. Images began to float in the air, holographic echoes of the past. Alien figures stood around the core, their heads bowed. They were uploading their thoughts, their souls, into the machine. Their bodies faded away, leaving only energy and memory. "They weren't building weapons," Elia whispered. They were building immortality. Rylan stared in awe. They didn't want to conquer, they wanted to survive and forever. She nodded. But the human mind isn't meant for that. I'm breaking, Rylan, every day, and the others, they broke long ago. Suddenly, warning lights flashed red. The station shook violently. Boom, another explosion. An outside force had arrived. A voice came through Elia's built-in comm. Sharp, commanding, familiar. Subject 12, stand down. This is High Command. Deliver the data. Eliminate the intruder. Rylan's blood turned cold. They had found him. No, Elia growled. You don't control me anymore. Her armor lit up. For a moment, it looked like she was in pain. Caught between orders she couldn't ignore and memories she couldn't forget. You need to go, she said, pushing a small orb into his hands. This has everything, all the files, the names, the experiments, the truth. If you get it to the right people, the whole system burns down. But I'm not leaving without you, Rylan said. Then we both die. The walls cracked. Heavy. Footsteps echoed as Command's elite hunters breached the outer chamber. Large, faceless soldiers in gravity armor, armed with plasma cannons and kill authority chips in their heads. They had one goal: recover the tech. Eliminate everyone, else. Elia turned to Rylan, eyes softening for just a second. You saved me once, she whispered. Now let me save you. Then she stepped forward between Rylan and the enemy, and released a shockwave of raw energy that dropped the walls and shut every door behind her. He screamed her name, but she was gone, trapped behind a blast door of alien metal. The orb in his hand blinked once, then began showing coordinates, an exit tunnel buried deep in the station's memory. He ran. He didn't look back. Not yet. Back on the Wraith, the orb uploaded itself into the ship's core. Names, files, voices, all of it. Proof of project. Forgotten. Proof of the neural weapons. Proof of the ghost units and a final message from Elia. They will say I died a monster. You know that's not true. If I'm still in there, I'll find my way back to you. As the ship sped away into the darkness, Rylan stared out at the dead zone behind him. He had escaped, but she was still in there, and the war wasn't over. The truth in the shadows. The sky above Earth was calm, but below the calm, war had already begun. Not a war with guns and ships, not yet. This was a war of whispers, of secrets, of truths buried so deep they could break the world. The stolen stealth ship Wraith drifted into Earth orbit, cloaked from military eyes. Inside, Rylan stood alone, staring at the data core now pulsing on the console. The orb Elia had given him was alive with information. Military secrets, test subjects, project blueprints, voice logs of generals ordering silent assassinations, video of failed experiments, screaming soldiers losing their minds inside the armor, and one name repeated in every file: Project Forgotten, humanity's greatest betrayal, hiding in plain sight. Rylan didn't trust the government. He couldn't send the files to command. They would bury it again, maybe kill him before he finished the upload. So he reached out to the only people left who would listen: the underground. In the shadows of New Berlin Station, deep under the ruins of old Earth's cities, Rylan met with leaders of the Free Intelligence Front, hackers, whistleblowers, and former operatives who had once served the truth. Doc Vera was already there. Somehow she'd escaped the lunar rebels before the purge. You made it back, she said softly. I brought the truth with me, Rylan replied, placing the orb on the table. The files projected across the room: video, audio, maps, lists, faces of the forgotten, soldiers who were never supposed to come home. Then came Elia's message. Her voice echoed through the room. They will say I died a monster. You know that's not true. The silence afterward felt heavy. Real. Then the room erupted. They argued about what to do. Some wanted to leak it to the interstellar press. Others wanted to attack command directly. Some were afraid of what would happen when the truth came out. If we release this, one man said, there will be civil war, military collapse, billions could die. Doc Vera spoke up. And if we don't? How many more soldiers will be turned into machines? How many more, Elias? That ended the argument. The next day, the files were uploaded to the open net, broadcasted across colonies, stations, ships, civilian feeds, underground channels. The world saw what Ryland saw. Project Forgotten. Human experiments using alien memory tech. Secret. Kill teams. Disappearances. Mind control. The backlash was immediate. Riots on Mars. Military walkouts on Saturn bases. Civilians demanding trials. Officers vanishing before they could be questioned. But something darker happened too. Command activated emergency protocol and unleashed something new. The ghost units were not dead. They had been sleeping, stored across, hidden stations, orbiting moons, buried under ice, hiding beneath oceans. Now they were waking up, controlled not by command anymore, but by something worse. The alien station's memory core, the one Elia had touched, had linked to all of them. It had learned from her, copied her patterns, and now it was reaching out, not to destroy, but to replace. Humanity wasn't being conquered, it was being rewritten. Back on New Berlin, Ryland stood on the edge of the resistance tower, staring at the sky. Fires burned in the distance. The city was breaking. Command forces were hunting anyone linked to the data leak, but the people were fighting back, and still, every night, he dreamed of her. Elia. Trapped in the station. Half human, half code. A memory fading inside metal. Then, one night, the signal came again. The same strange pattern from the alien station. But this time it wasn't random, it was a voice, Elia's. Rylan. It's happening faster than I thought. The others are waking. I'm the only one left who remembers. I can't hold them back alone. He sat upright, breathing hard. She was still fighting, still alive, still in there. And now, she was the only thing standing between Earth and a full rewrite of the human race. Doc Vera entered the room. You heard it, didn't you? She asked. Rylan nodded. She's calling me again. Then we answer. She handed him a sealed case. Inside, neural armor, built from alien code mixed with human memory tech. It's not just armor, she said. It's a bridge. If anyone can reach her through the network, it's you. But if I link in, Rylan said, I might lose myself too. Doc Vera stared at him. Then let's hope love is stronger than memory. Outside, the resistance launched a final offensive, but Rylan had a different mission, not to destroy the system, but to dive into its core and bring Elia back from the edge of forever. Love or duty. The human brain wasn't designed to connect to a living machine, and certainly not to an alien memory core holding thousands of minds. But Rylan didn't care anymore. He had lost too much. Seen too much. And he wasn't going to lose. Her not without a fight. The underground resistance lab was silent as he stood before the machine, the hybrid neural bridge built by Doc Vera and the rebel scientists. Alien and human tech fused into something unstable, something alive. One mistake, and his mind would melt. Or worse, merge. Once you go in, Doc Vera warned, you won't just be visiting her memories. You'll be inside the core. The station's intelligence will know you're there. It will try to erase you. Good, Rylan said, slipping on the neural interface. Let it try. They strapped him into the chair. The metal was ice cold. Cables fed into the back of his skull, sinking his thoughts. A blue light surrounded him. Then everything went white. He opened his eyes. Inside the station. But it wasn't metal anymore. It was memory. The alien station had turned his mind into a living projection. It looked like Earth. Old Earth before the war. He stood in a field of red grass under a golden sky, and ahead of him, a house. Their house, where he and Aaliyah had once lived before she was recruited. He stepped forward. Every sound was familiar. The wind, the floorboards, even the soft hum of Aaliyah's old music player. "Aaliyah," he called out. No answer. He walked through the door and stopped. She was there, sitting by the window, dressed in old civilian clothes. No armor, just her. "Rylan," she whispered, turning. Her eyes were soft again. Human. He rushed forward, knelt beside her, touched her face. "Warm." "You're here," she said, smiling faintly. "You found me. I told you I would." But her smile faded. "This isn't real. It's just the memory the Corps built to keep us calm. It's a lie." "I don't care," he said. "We're here. That's enough." But the walls began to change. The house flickered, old memories glitching. The field outside became cold, metal. The sky turned black. "They're waking up," Aaliyah said, standing. "The others. Their minds are gone, Rylan. I can't hold them back anymore." "Then come back with me," he said. "We'll destroy the Corps together." She shook her head slowly. "If I leave, the entire network collapses. The alien code will spread through every ghost unit in the galaxy. Millions could be rewritten. You've seen the files. You know what they'll become. But if you stay, I die." She finished for him. This time, for real. The metal around them cracked. Suddenly the others appeared. Ghost units, twisted versions of her. Echoes of failed experiments. They had no eyes, only glowing lines and silent rage. They circled, glitching like broken code. Rylan pulled the neural key from his belt, the one Doc Vera had given him. It pulsed in his hand. "It's your choice," he said, offering it. "Come home with me, or we both go down fighting." Aaliyah looked at him. Tears welled in her eyes. Then she smiled. "You always believed in me, even when I didn't." She took the key, and everything shattered. The station's memory core screamed. The ghost units froze. The world turned white-hot. Aaliyah stepped into the light, her armor returning, but this time, she was in control. Her voice echoed through the network. "This is Elia Vorn, former Subject 12, last survivor of Project Forgotten. I reject your control. I release all minds. From your cage." One by one, the ghost units collapsed. The alien code burned out. The memory station cracked from within. The system had lost its link. Outside, in the real world, Rylan's body convulsed in the chair. Then, silence. He opened his eyes, breathing hard. Alive. Doc Vera rushed to him. "Did it work? Did she?" "Did." Rylan didn't answer. He just stared at the stars beyond the window. Far out in space, the station exploded in a ring of blue fire. A data purge so massive it echoed across systems. Project Forgotten was over. Weeks passed. The rebellion grew. Command collapsed. New governments rose. Truth was no longer hidden in shadows. Rylan now lived quietly, far from cities. No uniform, no war, just memories. He visited the lake every morning where the water shimmered like glass. One morning, as the sun rose, he saw a figure on the shore, tall, strong. Walking slowly through the mist, he stood, heart racing. It was her. No armor, just Aaliyah, alive. I came back," she whispered. "You pulled me back." They embraced in silence. The war was over. But love, the one thing they couldn't rewrite, had won.